Starfield is almost upon us, and I'm sure many of you are thinking of modding the game, and perhaps you're wondering, what will I need to actually do that? But even if you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not going to mod the game for a while, I want to play it in its vanilla state first, you should still consider what you might need once you start to mod the game to avoid certain problems later on. So, what are you going to need? Well, here's the short version. Number 1. A legal copy of the game, preferably on Steam or GOG if it's released there. And when you install the game, please try to avoid installing it in a Windows protected folder such as program files. Number 2. An account with nexusmods.com. Not all Starfield mods are going to be on the Nexus site, but it's a fair bet that most of them will be. Number 3. A mod manager. There are plenty of options here, but I'm going to recommend Vortex, which is the official mod manager for the Nexus Mods site. 4. A file archiver. Now once again, there are plenty of options. You may even already have one installed. You may have something like WinRAR. If you don't, I would recommend 7-zip. 5. A basic understanding of the Windows file system so that you could use Windows Explorer to navigate to the games folder and perhaps move, copy, or even edit certain files. You should also be familiar with editing certain files with a text editor. One comes with Windows, it's called Notepad. I would actually recommend downloading Notepad++. It's more powerful and a lot more pleasant to use. And that's it. If you've got those things and a willingness to learn, you will probably be able to mod Starfield the instant we have mods with which to mod it. Now, for the rest of this video, I'm going to go into some more details and discuss the reasoning behind the recommendations I've just given you. The reason I recommend getting the game on Steam or GOG rather than something like the Microsoft Store is basically because of the past Bethesda Game Studios games that are there now. Games like Fallout 4 and Skyrim, whilst they are moddable at the moment, there is one particular mod that is not compatible with those versions, and that mod is the script extender. The script extender mods are very, very powerful, and a lot of the mods that we in the modding community consider essential mods for Fallout 4 and Skyrim require a script extender. Now, I am not saying I know for sure that the Microsoft Store version of Starfield will have the same problem. In fact, Microsoft have been making some changes to make their games easier to mod, so for all I know, I'm worried about nothing. I can't even say for absolute certainty that there will be a script extender and that you will want it to play a lot of the great mods. I can't say that for sure, but I am saying that myself personally, I would want to edge on the side of caution and go with the platform that I know will almost certainly be compatible with all of the mods that I might want to use. Now, if you've got Game Pass on the PC, don't panic about what I just said and rush out and buy the game even though you intended to play it on Game Pass. As I've said, I don't know for sure that there's even going to be a script extender, and I certainly don't know for sure whether or not it will be compatible with the Microsoft Store version. Microsoft and Bethesda are going all out on Starfield, and I'm sure they would want it to be as compatible as possible with absolutely as many mods as possible. So if you've got Game Pass, you should probably just wait and see. You can use a load of mods in the meantime, because it'll be a while anyway before the mods really start requiring script extenders. And if you get a desire to extend the modding experience later on, and it turns out that the Game Pass version won't use the script extender, you can always then purchase a copy somewhere else, and you'll be able to transfer your mods across pretty easily if you're using a mod manager. This advice is really mostly for people who are thinking of purchasing the game for full price right now and deciding which platform to purchase it on. If you've got Game Pass, play the hell out of Starfield on Game Pass and worry about, future mods if and when that situation occurs. Yeah? However, please try to install the game somewhere other than the default place, which is usually on the main drive, probably in the Windows folder. I would highly recommend placing, well, all of your games, to be honest, in a separate folder, possibly a separate partition or even drive. I actually have a drive just for my games. This is to stop Windows trying to interfere with your mod manager, reacting as though it's a virus or something like that. You're going to be modding your game. You don't want Windows to be constantly getting in the way and telling you it won't let you. If for some reason you have no choice but to install it in something like program files, don't worry too much. It may not even be a problem for you. This is one of these things that sometimes is a problem for one person, but not a problem for others. And there's almost always a way around it. It's just, if you can avoid this headache, it's probably a good idea to do so. I recommend getting a Nexus Mods account set up beforehand, because that is probably where you will find most of the mods for Starfield on PC. There are plenty of other places that will host mods. It's just, when it comes to Bethesda Game Studios mods, Nexus Mods is kind of the grand central station. You can sign up for free and you will have access to all of the mods on the site. None of them are locked behind a paywall at all. And if you want to support the Nexus site at a later date, you can always upgrade to Premium, which will give you no adverts, faster downloads, and a few other nice, quality of life features. But again, you don't actually have to pay when you first sign up. Try the free account. You're going to have access to all the mods. I recommended using a mod manager, and I cannot stress this enough. I really do mean that recommendation. I know some people are going to say, well, you can manually install mods, and that is correct. In fact, that is how we did it long ago, and it does work. And sometimes it can be just as easy to do it manually as doing it via a mod manager. Not always, though. There are many cases where installing something via the mod manager is, 10 times easier than manually installing. But it's not about whether it's easy or not. The mod manager is just a more reliable and less error-prone way of doing it. If you install mods manually, especially if you install lots of mods, you are much more likely to break something, especially if you start removing mods. Mod managers will give you peace of mind. They will let you mod your game, try things out, and reverse the entire process at the click of a button if something goes wrong. Please use a mod manager. As to which mod manager you should use, well, you do have some options, and I'm going to guess most of the popular ones will probably support Starfield. There are pros and cons to all of them, and of course there are fans for the various different options. I recommend Vortex for 2 reasons. One, I know it's going to support Starfield. That is just an absolute given. 2, whilst it does have a lot of powerful features, it's probably the easiest of the mod manager tools to get to grips with if you're a beginner. It's very user-friendly, and it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. It handles a lot of things that in the past have confused people, who are new to modding. The other recommendations don't really require much explanation. In fact, probably most of you now have an archive program. You probably know how to use a Windows Explorer and understand the file system enough to be able to do the basic manipulation. And that's all you really need to know. The only thing I'll add to that is something that the vast majority of you probably already know, and that is you should enable Windows Explorer to display the extensions on known files so that you can see if something is an executable file, an ini file, or a text file. And if you don't know how to do that, just go along to Windows Explorer, go to View, and find where it says File Name Extensions and make sure it's ticked. That is going to make your life a lot easier later on when you start listening to people tell you what to do or reading guides that do the same. And that's it. That is basically all you will need to know to be ahead of the curve and ready to go once Starfield arrives. Once it does arrive, I will be making some guides on how to specifically mod the game, and if you want to join me for those, you are more than welcome. I look forward to seeing you there, and until then, remember, as always, have fun.
This is where we belong.